The committee will convene in executive session in main office conference room at 6 p.m., which is now pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-4 and 5, for the purpose of receiving legal advice regarding Carden litigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-5A2. Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-5A1, any persons being discussed or affected were given advance notice of the executive meeting in writing and advised that they may require such discussion be held at an open meeting. No request has been made. And the second item for executive session is a consider and vote on motion to adjourn and reconvene into open session. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
that. I've been saying that for months.
Coming from that over there.
Doesn't?
Hold in there.
Can you text Steve? Texting Steve? I think that's the.
Calling the meeting to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. There were no votes taken in executive session. I will entertain a motion by the committee to seal the executive session minutes pursuant to applicable provisions of Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-4 and 5.
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are sealed. Next item, we have the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Before we go over the consent agenda, can, Dr. Fran, can you just go over what the process is real fast of homeschooling students? What needs to be handed in and who oversees
At the beginning of the school year, parents send in a letter of intent that, according to Rhode Island law, that specifies what subjects they'll be teaching. That's approved out of the Assistant Superintendent's office, so Mrs. Ramsey will be taking that over. And at the end of the year, they submit attendance records and their grades.
Why do we get them all year? Yeah, like, so why do, so up, like, this is for this year, but like, so up until June, we were still getting.
Yeah, so it's when parents submit requests.
Doesn't matter when.
No, and sometimes they'll start later in the year. They might disenroll from a school, or they might move into the district. They should be submitted at the beginning of the year if you're homeschooling, but we do follow up multiple times with the people that we have on record asking for those records at the end of the year and for a letter of intent.
Low.
Director of Finance is approaching.
It's on. Within the bill list is the invoice for Central Nurseries for the first portion of the courtyard project at Orlo. What's not on that list is the concrete pad.
Yes, you can. So the way you could do that is that you could propose approving a certain group of numbers. Whichever one is excluded, we'll have a separate vote on that. What I meant by that, sorry, is numbers on here. So under consent agenda, if you don't want to approve number 5, for example, you can leave it at.
While Tony's finding that, oh yeah. Oh, he's Okay, so while Tony's finding that, I just want to go over one other item in the consent agenda. Exit interview, which I'm very thankful once again that we are doing, but there is a request for a one-on-one, in-person exit interview. I want to make sure that was
We
done.
did that.
Thank you very much. Again, that request was granted, so I just want to make sure I was contacted personally as well.
Sure. That invoice did not make it onto the warrant list to be approved, so it's not being paid. Welcome.
No questions or comments for any of the.
I will just say that any of the invoices from the Waddington projects and the Martin Middle School projects were discussed at the building committee meetings. And the East Providence School Committee at the both meetings, so.
Yesterday, right?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Next item, we have PTO, PTA, and APLAC reports. Oh, excuse me, not just yet.
So tonight in the audience, I'd just like to introduce, actually, we have a couple of new people here tonight, but our new assistant principal from Kent Heights, who was just approved in the consent agenda. If you want to come up, Nicole. And I don't want to pronounce your last name wrong, so you're going to have to help me. Warzel Piasek. Okay, so this is Nicole Piasek. She's the new assistant principal at Kent Heights, and we'd like to welcome her. Yes. So in addition, you may have noticed that we have a new face up here tonight. So we'd also like to welcome our new assistant superintendent, Lisa Benedetti Ramsey. And while we're at it, I'd also like to introduce a familiar face to everyone here, but Dan Carpenter is our new Director of Facilities. And I think that covers everyone tonight. Nope. Wait a minute, we got one more, sorry. Our new Assistant Director of Pupil Personnel Services, Tina Lyman. Now I think I covered everyone. I have one more. They're not down here, but our new co-directors of IT, we have Patrick McDonald and John Iema. I cannot see that far, so John's back there, I think. I'm not sure if Patrick is also there, but so we have had some administrative changes this year. All of our administrative vacancies are full at this point, so we are ready to start the year in a couple of weeks.
Next item, we have PTO, PTA, and EPAC reports.
Good evening. Oops. Good evening. We opted not to do a August meeting this month as we are trying to strategize and how to meet with new parents. So Logan and I met. She unfortunately wasn't able to come. She was really hoping to come tonight to talk to you about what we've set for our goals for this year. We're going to continue connecting with our families through the district outreaches to increase membership, as that was our drive again last year, including reaching out again to find a way to connect with our out-of-district families as well. We're going to be participating in whatever we can for East Providence community events, the back-to-school events, open houses, meet the teachers, and hope to attend some PTO and PTA committees to do that outreach for families. We're hoping to update the EPLAC section of the district webpage this year. We're going to continue with follow up with the special education audit with our directors at our meetings. We're going to continue with our advisory role to the district and administration and the school committee. Incorporation this year, we're going to have a principal's report, hopefully, where we're going to be having representation from at least one principal at our meeting. So that way we know like what the needs are and how to help families, and that way there's a face of EPAC to the principals, so they would know who we are as well, and utilize us as a resource. And then also, we would like to try to reinstate our EPLAC school liaisons, which we've had in the past, so we can have at least one person at each school to be able to forward off any communications, or if there's anybody in the building that has questions, they can contact us through our email. New this year, we are going to try to do a different meeting day, so we're going to do that on Tuesdays. So it'll be the last Tuesday of the month instead of Wednesdays. We just got that submitted this today, so we're happy to try to strategize to reach more families. We're just trying to do all that we can to reach the families, and that is it.
So I'm just going to speak real quickly about the back to school fair because it affects all the PTAs and the back to school for elementary schools. So elementary school students on Saturday and pre-K if they would like to go. 9 to 11, East Providence High School. Bridgepoint is doing their amazing back to school, backpack, school supplies. It's here at the high school. You get a new backpack, school supplies, refreshments, dental, vision screening, after school resources. It's carnival games. It is amazing an event. There's still time to drop off supplies if you'd like to do that and donate, or you can write a check if you don't want to donate your supplies. To believe it or not, their volunteer list is already completely full, so that is great to hear. So if you have a child and they need school supplies, it is absolutely free, and they will have all the lists for all of our elementary school students for all of our schools. You can just please sign up, and once you are signed up, you can go and get all your supplies absolutely free. There is no need to worry, and you can get everything else that you need. Eye, vision, teeth, haircuts I think are still available. On that note, also, I am still the president of RMS PTA. We're looking forward to having a really good year again this year. So we have some already booked our fundraisers at Contenders for Saturday starting in October. So, however, I am looking for a lot of volunteers. Thank you.
Next item, we have the superintendent's report and Dr. Ferrand. And one thing before I forget to mention, Max Brandel has been excused for today. He is very much under work duty as well tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Starting at Riverside Middle School, the window project headed by Lockheed Architectural Solutions is going great and starting to come to an end. Curtain walls in the front of the building have been installed, the shades are going up, and finish items are starting to be taken care of. The new science rooms and the media center projects that Collins Construction are working on are making headway. The goal is to have the science classrooms operational for the start of the school year and the media center to be complete in September. Waddington Phase 1 project is moving forward quickly without any issues. A lot of the progress is happening daily, and Shawmut is moving the project along quickly. Martin Middle School construction project is also moving forward with more demo work, prep work in the gymnasium for shear wall reinforcements to accept the new section of the building. Footing and foundation work has been finished, and we started accepting the steel August 5th and has started to be installed. The Orwell Courtyard renovation project started on July 1st by Central Nurseries is ongoing. Concrete patio and handicap accessible ramps have been poured. Irrigation piping is going in, then sod, flowers, and other various outside furniture and storage items. The project is slated to be completed by the end of August. Myron Francis boiler replacement project was started July 1st by Next Gen Mechanical. The demolition and removal of the existing boiler was done the first week, with rerouting of the piping and new boiler installation to follow. 2 new Lochinvar boilers are being installed in a lead lag configuration to combat the issues of only having a single boiler there. Installation of newer reutilized unit vents at White Neck is taking place by our own maintenance crew. Rooms are slated to be replaced in the front section of the building that have 50-plus-year-old units. They all have been installed by our own HVAC plumbers and electricians and other maintenance crew members, and will be ready to go for the beginning of school. Here at the high school, HSI has begun installing wall vinyl covering in the hallways on the 3rd and 4th floors. Water drainage issues on the running track were addressed by Woods Rooter Service. We had the drain basins cleaned out, and the issues with cracking and turf lifting at the running track are being addressed under warranty by Replay and Cape Island Tennis and Track. And lastly, all the summer cleaning of the buildings is moving along very well, and I would like to thank my custodial and maintenance staff for their hard work so far. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for our Director of Facilities?
Myron Francis boiler replacement.
That would be August 23rd.
Have for play in Cape and Island Tennis and Track.
So the track has a 5-year warranty. Began on the commissioning date of the high school. So that would be 2021. So we go to 2026.
That specific warranty with the committee.
Yes, so everything on the track is covered under warranty. Any kind of cracking, delamination, any kind of sinking of any product, they are fully committed to warranty and anything they can fix on the track, along with the turf. We've had them come out and look at it already. They're coming out to fix the turf and fill in the cracks. I've gone over it with them to have a possible fix around the track to stop it from cracking and see what we can do around that. But it's still ongoing.
No, right on. That's great. Thank you for that update. Can you also just share the actual warranty with the committee after this meeting, anytime?
Oh, sure, yes.
Questions for our Director?
First question, Danny, with all of our projects, do we have all our permits pulled for all of them?
Yes, we do.
Are they taped in the windows in the school?
I was on vacation last week. Just have to pick up Silver Springs from the building department. I have everything in a folder in my office. I just haven't got out there to tape them all. Yeah, so I can put them all out there, yeah.
Next question is, at Orlo, contract that we have, I believe it says that we gave them to the August 30th, but on your report, we just got mid-August. We're at mid-August now, and I was there this morning, and when do you think that that's going to be done?
So
I've
the
been-
project is to
I
become.
can address that too, Danny. So I've been in touch with them. I emailed back and forth with Paul today. They'll be back on site tomorrow to continue the work, and tomorrow he'll have a completion date for us.
All right.
I did tell him that we need it done before teachers start school and that we were expecting teachers to be in the building on August 19th, so.
The project itself is supposed to be done mid-August. The grant money ends August 30th.
But that's what the project itself did mid-August. That's what I'm saying. They got quite a bit left to go in there.
Right.
They're going to be under the gun a little bit to get that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
We're working on that tomorrow.
Excuse the
And-
interruption. Can you guys speak into the microphone so Sharon can hear you guys and she can type accordingly? Thank you.
Danny, now, the next question I have, Danny, is what I would need you, or through Sandy, if we can get, if you can locate the warranty book for the high school.
Yes, everything that we have warranty-wise is on Procore. Anything that you would need, we can print out and get to you. Just
Get that
specifics.
Some kind of thumb drive or something like that, I'm not too technical, but.
We should be able to put it on a thumb drive or print it out.
We can research that, we can look into that there. Next question I have, can you give us an update what we're doing at Silver Spring with them bleachers or whatever the process we're doing over there?
Yeah, so they were awarded a $20,000 grant for an outdoor classroom. The plan that they had was to have a sitting area to be outside with a rolling chalkboard to come outside. Originally out front of the school in the lower area is where they wanted it, but that area being so wet and from a threat assessment situation with the field being there on the front of the school raised too much risk to have it there, so we moved it out back to a flatter, drier area that was less inconspicuous. So we're gonna, with the, basically the time frame that we have of also August 30th, we had to start showing that we were building something with the money. So we had to start building that. So we still have to, attach it to concrete and things like that. So it's still in the process of being built. One of my maintenance guys went down the other day. He's out for a long time now, so it's kind of just a hit to the crew, really, and kind of put a little halter on it. So that's where we're at with that for the moment, but it'll be finished by August 30th for sure.
All right, Sandy, just a question, if I can meet probably early next week for about an hour with you and Danny, just to go, I don't want to get into all of it now. Just Danny, because the problem I have with that, here's all the paperwork from the grant and everything, and what the grant says we're supposed to be doing with portable tables, portable chairs, sheds, all of that stuff I want to go over to see. When you said a plan, I'd like to see the plan, what was implemented for that project.
Yep.
And then if there's a plan for the pre-K, because they received a $25,000 grant, portion of that, I believe.
Theirs is mostly equipment.
Yeah, they bought mostly furniture,
Yeah.
outdoor furniture that was play furniture, and they used some of it previously last year with a small play area that we had put out back with some mulch and rubber containment around the mulch, playground containment.
All right, can we just get a list of where all that money went, please? And Danny, like an itemized list of where, kind of like we get from our RFPs, exactly where all that money went?
Yep.
And the same thing for what we're doing at Silver Spring?
Absolutely.
The money that we spent so far on that material, on that there, and then,
And the intent with the pre-K is to be able to move it over to Martin when it opens.
correct, yes, yep, on that there, yep. All right, and then Danny, just to try to get us, bring you up to speed when we meet next week, as far as my paperwork, and once again, the grant, and all the RFP, what's happening at Orlo, that indoor classroom, it's nothing like this paperwork. I had mentioned it at Sandy this morning. We have to go over that whole project. That project is not coming out like the drawing that I have here, and it's nothing meeting all the specs and everything that I have here, all highlighted. So we have to go over that whole project.
Okay.
And see where we're at with that there. Money-wise, the one thing that I would see if you can research for us would be what the concrete pad cost. Because it seems funny that we got all the original, the pavers that we eliminated, stamped concrete, but I just like to know what that concrete pad with the broom finish cost us.
Yep, I can get you that.
All right. And then a couple more items. If you can just send us out a list when the schools, have any schools that are done being all cleaned and everything.
Yep, no problem.
Danny, that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions or comments from the committee regarding the subject?
Well, I'm just going to go over what happened at the building committee last night since nobody was in,
Oh, we do have do you want to do that during the project
yeah.
building update? Is
Yeah,
that
sure,
okay?
yeah,
Okay.
okay. Since he was up here. But yeah, I'll wait.
Going back down,
Okay.
it's okay. Don't leave us just yet.
No problem.
Next, we have our finance update.
Good evening again. So very quickly, because you'll be hearing again from me very, very shortly anyways, so we're in June. We continue to be in good shape. There are, some areas which we continue to watch in the 53,000 series, so the contracted speech therapists and psychological services. We have to abide by what's in the IEPs. So that'll be an area that we can watch. We do have in the 55,000 series with the closure of the East Bay Educational Collaborative. So that purchase order will be closed out. So we have a balance of funds available that we can use to offset the increase in expenses. But overall, we remain good to date. Thank you.
Questions from the committee for our finance director? Item, we have the policy committee report regarding the code of student conduct. Second read.
Okay, this is up for second read, and again, my apologies for not being here last meeting. I heard I was very missed. On that note, I believe Amanda let you guys know that her and I met together for a couple hours, but not only did her and I meet, there was a group of teachers. Well, first there was a small group, and I was part of that group, of administrators and directors, and then there was a much larger group that met as well, and then Amanda and I met as well, our attorney for the school department, and we came up with this. So, do you have any questions? This was posted, correct, on the Secretary of State's website, so it was viewed for anybody who would like to see it.
There was just one small change from the last meeting. Mr. Queen had asked for a correction on some wording. That was the only change.
And I will also ask for a correction that I would like that we take out. Currently, this is in the same section as the dress code policy, and I just want the dress code policy to be separate. This should just be the code of conduct. Dress code should not be associated with this. Dress code is just, I think it's one in its own, and code of conduct is one in its own. This should just be its own policy. The East Providence School Department Code of Conduct, Amanda also agreed that this should just be its own policy. This is based on state law, which I believe Amanda discussed with you all in length.
Yeah, appreciate those changes I asked for to be made. I do have last month's copy here, comparing notes. Talked about this pretty thoroughly. Some of us talked about this pretty thoroughly at the last discussion. I don't really have any further questions on it. I know that it was important to me, Sharon. I trust in that making sure that all of the general law links are like hyperlinks and accessible to families and our community to be able to see that if there's any questioning.
And this should go out to all teachers. I mean, and make sure that they understand this as well and signed off on as well. And we are going to make sure that parents have to sign off on this and students as well. This should actually be the document that everyone understands. These are the students' responsibilities, and this is what we're expecting of students when they come to school here in East Providence. And this is the disciplinary procedures that could occur if you partake or behave in any of these fashions that are listed on this page, is 2 and 3. We've had a really tough couple years here, and I think parents need to know right off the bat where we stand, and so do students.
I don't really have much to add since the last meeting, just that I think it's, no, I think it's obviously not just necessary from, for it to actually match state law, but I think it's also direct, it's clear, concise, so.
We're not the only district doing this. Every district in the state is doing this.
Are there any additional questions or comments regarding the Code of Student Conduct?
Yes, I just want to thank you and the team and Amanda for that. We had, some good conversation with Amanda, and some of our hands, are tied from RIDE, but my opinion, I wish we could do more to the individuals that are vandalizing this building and stuff so I want to thank you for where we went with it, but we can't really go beyond that.
Well,
And I know our staff is doing a great job trying to keep abreast.
Tony, that was one of the things her and I discussed, and that's where we came up with the restorative practices and actually put in repair of harm. Therefore, you can financially hold a child responsible, and we can put a price on it, and that we added that because, to be honest with you, if, the payment of restitution, so, if it's gonna cost $50 for someone to replace something, we now have that option in this disciplinary procedures, and parents can no longer say, well, I didn't know. Well, you do. You do know now. Your child came in here and ripped up a seat. Now you're gonna repair the seat. So I think now it's the time that we've seen the graffiti, we've seen what's happening to our schools, and now, you're gonna keep doing it, and we catch you, you're gonna pay for it, and you're gonna come here on a day, and maybe you're gonna help wash the walls, or however it's gonna work.
Yes, just a little follow-up question on that. And I agree with that, but is that something that the school committee would be notified that we're gonna be fining parents? Or how do you think that's gonna work? Because at the end of the day, do we know actually the vandalism that's going on in this building? I can sit here and say, at least I don't, because it makes the hair on my arm stand up when I get an update of what's happening in these bathrooms and stuff regularly. So in other words, is this something that we're gonna get an update every time you think we should be fining a parent? Or is this just, say, a law that we put into play and we get no follow-up with it and it just sits on a piece of paper?
So we just make the policy,
Exactly.
and
We can always request some
we can-
information, like
right.
follow-up, like
We
we've
can
always
follow it
been
up.
able to do that.
but as the policy states, and I guess the superintendent can continue. Right.
Yeah. I give you a weekly discipline report, so that would be part of that report for vandalism.
Correct, Sandy, but what I'm saying is how often are the bathrooms being vandalized? How many times have we painted them in the last 3 years? And I gotta be honest, you probably don't even know it. No disrespect to you, that's where some of these problems lie.
Yeah, I
You
don't know
can't-
every time the
you can't
bathroom's
inform us, But if
vandalized.
you ask the painters how many times they've painted these bathrooms in 3, you're gonna be stunned. And that's what I'm trying to say about, you couldn't relay it to us in our weekly update if it's not getting relayed to you. So this policy is very good, but if we don't have a chain that has to be followed,
Well, it's only if we catch a student vandalizing it that we would know and be able to ask, to request that they pay for it, and that's when I inform you of consequences.
no, I
It
correct you, but,
happens, right? It happens and we don't catch the student.
right, 99% of the time we don't, but just so we could be aware what's happening to this building, I think we have to be, because it's taken a beating, and I'm not saying that you know about all of it, because I believe you don't know about all of it, but it is, the bathrooms are taking a beating, so, We just gotta be.
That's not unique to the high school. I mean, there's vandalism that takes place throughout the district. You see it outside on our buildings. You see it around the city. It's an issue. It's definitely an issue all across the city, too.
I'm not denying that.
No, I know.
But
I'm
we,
just
but
saying.
see, I'm not denying, but we
Yep.
can ride around the city. I removed 87 pieces of graffiti last
Yeah.
year, so I'm well aware of it. Every one of us drive the city. We're aware of what's
Right.
happening.
I'm saying it's not
Are we
just
aware of
the
what's
high
happening in
school.
our bathrooms?
The
No.
principal is.
The principal, I'm saying we, as an elected
Right.
body that sits here.
Well, it hasn't been requested, so if that's a request to the committee, I'm more than happy to supply that. Yeah.
That's how we get the disciplinary report, is because we asked for it. So that to be an add-on on, because that is a disciplinary issue too. Like if they get caught, that makes sense for
Yeah.
it to be on there. But then, yeah. Any additional questions or comments regarding the Code of Student Conduct? Next item, we have the Building Committee report. First item is the project, building project update. So I will turn over the table.
Well, he can walk down because he's probably going to have to help me.
Our Director
All
of
of us.
Facilities and our Director of Finance, potentially.
I just want to give the good stuff. It's all good. It was all good. So Martin is on, we're still behind the 3 months that we all know about, right?
Yes.
So we all still know about that. The topping off is going to be the week of the 23rd. So the risk log, there was no change on that. Am I going good so far?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. September 23rd. Oh, yeah, thank you. September 23rd. Okay, anything else you got for Martin?
Just that we accepted the steel and it's all going up right now, as you can see. The elevator shaft is in and that project's moving along nicely. Everything with the heating system was refilled today and bled out, so that'll be operational by tomorrow afternoon. And the bleachers in the gym are set to go back in tomorrow morning.
You can see in the photos, which you have in front of you, which we don't have up there, but if anyone wants to see this, I'll leave this here for you. Chorus room, underground work is being done. Drainage, excavated, trenching, install, backfill starts in September. Matt was there last night from Peregrine to go over Waddington. They have, I think he said 70 workers there round the
70
clock.
plus, yep.
And based on the amount of cars that are there, I'm gonna go with that as correct. The classroom walls have been installed. The infill is complete. Which means now it's ADA accessible. The electric service has been put back on from the city.
Yes.
There was a concern about heating and electrical. I guess the heating, about whether or not there will be heat in the winter, but there will be heat because the old boiler is staying. It is not being removed, so the old boiler will be there. And the new boiler will give heat to the classrooms, and the old boiler will give heat to the other classrooms.
So I can speak on that, Jess.
Thank you so
So
much.
2 out of the 4 boilers, 2 were removed that went to the back section of the building. 2 are still operational to the front section of the building, which is phase 2 of the project. The other 2 boilers were removed because everything now is on the rooftop. So everything is now an air system versus a water system. Because over the years, we've had too many problems with the water system imploding and freezing and stuff like that. So we went to an
Leaking all
air
over
system
the
this time
bottom
around,
of where the
which
wa-
ruined the rooms.
Correct. Yep.
So everything now is fed through heat pump units and cassettes from the ceilings, and all full air system from the rooftops. So that'll be commissioned next week.
And then that would also give air conditioning to,
Everything will still have air conditioning. The front and the back. Well, I'm sorry, the back only, because we removed the chiller from the front, sorry.
and what are we gonna do about the other?
We can either put units in per 504s and fans, and we'll do what we have to.
The construction turnover is set to be on August 22nd. The punch list has already been started. Matt pretty much said that he's pretty confident for August 22nd. Him and I had a few choice words if it wouldn't be. So I really trust he's going to be pretty much on
Yep.
August 22nd.
So Shawmut's date for pull out of the project is the 23rd. They will be waxing the floors next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and 23rd is their completed date for turnover.
I am pretty impressed, so I will, the building committee, the sub-building committee, which Superintendent let me sit on last week, which was very interesting. They walked the schools, and I at the time was suffering from an injury and could not walk it, but they found an issue, the building subcommittee. Am I correct? That's where you guys found it, at Waddington, and they brought it up to the attention of Peregrine and Shawmut or whomever, and I was pretty impressed that last night they already addressed the issue and already planned on mitigating the issue coming next year. So I'm pretty impressed with it, and it has to do with the lower level classroom that, because the water is so high over by the basketball court, that has always been high over there because it doesn't drain over there correctly, that they are looking at replacing the floor next summer with carpet tiles. They discussed it last night at the meeting, which I thought was pretty impressive that they were already discussing trying to do it because they know that it will not be there because.
Yes.
Yes.
So they talked about putting in carpet tiles. Over the years, we've had a lot of water issues in that area of the building, which caused a lot of moisture in the floor. So the problem is the glue itself wouldn't adhere. So the process is to possibly either put carpet tiles so allow it to breathe, or to seal off the top of the concrete with a membrane and then go over it to seal everything underneath.
Yeah, so we've temporarily put down flooring. There's a water issue where water is coming, the slab is wet, so it's popping tiles. So temporarily, we have put tiles back down. We don't have enough time to address the issue properly this summer because the building needs to be ready for students in 2 weeks. So the plan is to explore the options for sealing that concrete slab so the moisture issue is eliminated, and then new tiles will be put in as part of phase 2 next summer. So right now it's temporary solution so that the classroom is ready to go, and the permanent solution will be in phase 2 of the project when we go back to address it.
Is it?
Okay?
Well, and I was just, because there's always an issue in that classroom, and it's always over there, and yeah, I'm glad that they caught it now and instead of.
Teachers are going to come back
Yes,
to
they are.
old tiles in the classroom, but knowing that the tile floor will be replaced next summer once we find a permanent solution to the water problem.
Majority of the floor was replaced in that back room. I would say a good 3/4 of it already, especially in the center. It's mainly just
Where the water is.
the outside of the classroom that remains. But with that moisture issue, they will address it.
They're looking at some outside water issues right around the back of the building.
Yeah, like a retaining wall, like trying to figure out what we can do
Yeah,
to.
there's a lot of grading and stuff that still needs to be done around the back of the building, which might help with that low level in that area.
Riverside had their main inspection on the first floor,
Yes, they passed.
so that's good.
Yep.
The media center will not be done until September 16th, so it will open, school will open without it being completed, but we all knew that, and the building inspector is aware of it. So, 4 science classrooms are looking good, right? We just have to paint, ceiling tiles.
Yep, so all the ceilings are in, the tiles are going in, all the cord reels are in, lights. They are laying flooring today and the rest of the week, and everything should be good to go by the start of the school year.
We have a new principal and a new vice principal.
Yes.
Regarding that cement slab, that's the old cement slab,
Yes.
where the moisture problem is?
Yes, that's the,
In the
yeah,
classroom.
existing inside the building, yes.
Knew about that for years.
Yes.
Yes. We've also had issues over the years with, like I said, the univents with flooding and stuff like that contributes to it too. But that is the lowest spot of that whole property. And we do have a lot of flooding area in that back.
Just so I
Spot.
follow, just, that's where we would have them two puddles that are constantly there, that's
Right.
that corner right there.
That corner,
And
yes.
it happens to also be where the hose is, like the faucet is where the hose comes out. It's
Yeah.
also where the, yeah. We've actually had I believe we had the city, didn't they? The city put a big machine down, tried to dig it out. We've had a lot of people try to do stuff, and there's just really, I mean, we had a great conversation last night talking about putting up a once this is all done, trying to do something, but I mean, I've asked since like 2012. It's been like that.
Yeah, there needs to be something done about water mitigation in that area with either grading or a retention wall or a possible French drain along the roadway. We can look at it.
Regarding the building.
With that, what we're gonna do for storage for that?
So we have storage in place. We've always had storage in place for the freezer because the old freezer was so bad that we had refrigerators and freezers put inside there previously because it kept going on and off, and we kept losing food. So to mitigate that, we have everything in place to hold all the food for now until that goes in and is finalized, and then we can move everything from those freezers into the new one, and then spread the freezers that we purchased throughout the district to replace some of the old ones.
One thing we can get to, I don't know if Danny has that, because we can't, even when I was with the engineer this afternoon. Copy of it, or if we can get,
I do. I have a copy right there. Yep.
Comments or questions regarding the building project? Next, we have the updated building committee membership.
So as you can see, there are names in front of you. You will be voting on them, one for the building committee for the high school, and then for the district-wide.
There's been changes made to these, and could you please go over
Yes.
what changes are?
So our new staff that was not on the building committee were added, IT, Dan, and then there were, I think last meeting we removed some, I don't think. Yeah, it was the addition of the new members of the district staff.
Yep. And then just for clarity, to join this building committee as a school committee member, I noticed that each building committee does only have one school committee member assigned to it. So therefore, and please correct me here, but it would make sense that there could be room for a second school committee member to be on either building committee meeting.
Yes. You just have, yes. So I had to fill out a form from RIDE, and I had to submit my resume to the superintendent.
So if,
I asked the former superintendent if I could be on it, and I had to submit my resume, updated resume, and a form from RIDE.
selection process or a committee for folks to, you know, vet out appropriate qualified members for it, or this is anyone who could just fill out a form available on the Rhode Island Department of Education website, submit that completed and a resume to the superintendent. Is that correct?
I know RIDE does have a required people for us to have on it, so like there is requirements across the board. I think it's like having an engineer.
Yeah, there's specific roles for the building committee for the base membership. Above and beyond that, I believe people could be added.
You have to have the superintendent, you have to have school principal,
Member.
community member, official for building maintenance, local official, finance money man, architectural person, school committee.
So right now, as both committees stand, there is opportunity for members of the public or members of our school committee to fill out a form, send the form and a resume to the superintendent, and could be appointed to being on the building committee, as well as the other representatives of our school committee on here, because it would mean there was only 2 committee members. So therefore, that's a possibility. Is that correct?
Questions or comments regarding next item we have for discussion is the proposed fiscal year 2025 school budget presentation. I think it's best for the committee to move up to the first or whichever rows in front so we can kind of follow along. Many of us have met together for the budget workshop recently, and I know Jessica did meet personally with the superintendent to make sure that she was up to date with everything, and she also spoke with me to make sure that she also knew my
Yes,
opinions as
I
well.
did speak with the superintendent. I did meet with her personally because I was missing from the last school committee meeting, if all of you did not know that already.
All right. This doesn't want to stay. So this is our comprehensive budget presentation after coming out of our workshop the other night. Next slide, please. So our focus out of our strategic plan, our 4 goals are academic excellence for all students, social emotional learning to support academic learning, educators focus on continuous learning, and family and community engagement. So as we create the budget, as we're meeting with principals and directors, those are the district goals that are kept in mind. This is our projected enrollment for the 24-25 school year. Sorry about that. As you can see, the ELC is basically projected. That's a rolling admission, so we're not sure, what our numbers, but typically we're around 100 students that we service through the ELC, and these are our numbers as of Friday. Another typo, sorry. Wait, nope. Yep. Oh.
Just want to confirm something.
Next slide. This is our enrollment history over the last 5 years. As you can see, we're at 5,231. We have students registering daily, so we had probably 5 students that registered today, so it's still fluid. We'll have a better idea and settle in by October 1st. But you can see we've taken a slight dip this year in our enrollment, which I do anticipate we'll see an increase again. Next slide. Our special education numbers, again, since 2020, you can see we were at 1,020, and this year, as of 8/8, we're at 1,117 students, which right now is still 21.3% of our population. Slight dip from last year, but again, we have enrollments coming in daily. Next slide, please. Where we've seen a big increase in our population is our MLL enrollment. As you can see, in 2021, we had 215 students. Right now, we have 286 students. Many of them are level 1, which means they're limited English speaking. So they're coming in, some new to the school department, new to the country. So we've seen a big increase in our enrollment over the last 4 years. Next slide, please. This is our special ed out-of-district placements. So just a quick explanation of each category. So our IEP team placements out of district are students that our teams internally recommend be placed in an out-of-district placement because they need more services than we can provide to them in district. ESSA conferences, so that's when we meet with DCYF and other districts, and it could be a student, resident or non-resident that's placed in East Providence, foster family or group home in East Providence. DCYF will determine whether they are considered, whether their school of origin is East Providence or it could be another district, and then they'll decide, they'll do a best placement hearing for them and decide where they feel would be in the best interest of placing that student. So it might be one of our students who's in our school who could be living in Warwick. We would be responsible for transporting that student. Or it could be one of Warwick students who's living in East Providence who is going to come to East Providence School. So those, we have 50 of them, and of those we have 9 out of district. So the next category, DCYF residential, it's students that are in state care placement that's determined by DCYF. We do not have any say in the placement of those students. Some of those are out-of-state placements. Students are living in those placements, and we're responsible for the cost of that. Each one of those is approximately $10,000 a month, and we have 9 students currently in DCYF residential placement. And the last category is craft. There's been a lot of discussion at craft. We did go and testify at the State House. The bill did not pass this year, but CRAFT is a program at Bradley Hospital. It's residential. Students receive treatment there. They either are in our schools, they could be in out-of-district placements, or they could be in their original school of origin and we transport them. So right now, as of today, we have 3 students that are in out-of-district placements. At the end of last year, we had 10. So it's fluid. Students are there for a year. They come in at all different times during the year. So it's very hard to predict, how many out-of-district placements we'll have there. All right, next slide, please. So 2024-25 personnel changes. As you all know, we had some reductions to our staff this year. We eliminated 3 resource positions at the elementary level. We have eliminated 2 kindergarten classrooms, 1 social worker, 1 elementary MLL teacher, 1 instructional coach, 1 first grade, 1 fourth grade, and 5 paraprofessional positions this year, for a total of 15 positions total that were eliminated this year. Next slide. Additional budget items that had to come back into the budget this year. So we had a bubble class at Francis, so we needed to add a 5th grade position there for the 4th grade, the 3 4th grade classes that were moving up. We added 2 speech pathologists. You'll see later on in the budget presentation, our consultant speech costs were very high, so, after calculating that, we felt that it would be less expensive to add our own people into those speech positions and to reduce the consultation costs. Before summer school staffing was being paid out of ESSER funding, that came back into the budget. Web-based software, we've talked about that, so all of our software programs were also in our ESSER budget. That's now back in the regular budget, and we've done a lot to pare that down. Those costs are very high. Custodial supplies, additional substitute compensation were both in ESSER prior to this year. Those are back in the budget this year. And then ESY. So those are all additional budget items that we had to absorb for this year in the general budget. Next slide, please. Thank you. So these are all the grant-funded positions that we have. There are a variety of different grants, but these are teaching positions and actually some paraprofessional positions that are not in the general budget that come out of grant writing. So as you can see, there's quite a few. We just got a grant from the Department of Ed for an instructional coach. We just found out about that last week. So we apply for any grant we possibly can that will support those goals that we talked about earlier in the presentation. Next slide, please. So just some overall cost increases for the 24-25 budget. So we had $450,000 increase in healthcare, 1.375 in salary increases. So you may remember when I came to the committee and talked about layoffs that we anticipated it to be about 2 million or just over. The reason it's 1.375 is because of the 15 cuts we made to personnel, or it would have been, somewhere just over the 2 million mark. And then we had a just over $400,000 increase to our transportation costs coming up this year that had to be absorbed into the budget. Next slide. Our outside of salary and benefits, our two biggest expenses are $6.5 million in out-of-district placements, which the slide I showed you prior to this talked about some of those out-of-district placements, and the $7.46 million transportation cost. So those are two of our biggest items. And we've mentioned this multiple times. As far as out-of-district placements, that's what we were looking at for this year was $6.5 million. We could get 10 additional out-of-district placements, or we could lose 10 out-of-district placements. It's really hard. We do our best to project what we think we will have, but that could shift at any time depending on who moves into the district or who moves out of the district. Next slide. So just some facility updates that we've done this year. As you know, we've talked about a lot of them tonight. RMS, the media center, the science classrooms, the windows. The science classroom and the media center was FEI money, so it's partly out of the district money and it's matched with a RIDE grant. We had obviously the Martin Pre-K and Waddington building projects that we've talked about a lot, the Francis Boiler, the Orlo fence, both were through contributions from the city, and then them giving us money for capital expenses. We're doing the Orlo courtyard, which is completely funded by grant money. We created our new ALP classroom, so we have brought our high school students that were out of district, some of them back into district. We're starting the program with 14 students in the program. So we have brought them back into the district. They will be located in the administration building, and there were 2 classrooms that were built out in that building for that purpose. We repurposed some unit vents that we had, and those were installed at White Neck. The City Council also provided the money for the gym curtain at Riverside Middle School, and we have a new dishwasher and walk-in freezer at RMS, and those are both through the school lunch fund. Next slide. So our biggest maintenance priorities this year is the building management system, which helps to control the heat and the air conditioning in all of our buildings. That is estimated at $400,000 to $500,000. Elementary intercom system replacement, that's approximately $1.5 million. Each school is about $160,000. With Silver Spring being our priority, that system is original to the building. It actually has a record player in it still. So it is quite old, and we've been repairing it, but it needs to be replaced. Replacing the univents at White Neck, Silver Spring, Orlo, and Oldham at about $378,000. Oldham roof repairs at approximately $1 million. And we brought in a company to look at paving of parking lots and playgrounds, and that is a total of $674,000, and that is listed by it's not up here, but we have priority areas that we would like to address first, but that's the total. Okay, the next section of the budget, Mr. Enos is going to take over, and he's going to go through the different sections and line items.
Thank you, Superintendent. Can you move it to the next slide, please? So just going to be reviewing the information that we discussed at the budget workshop a couple weeks ago. But in the 51,000 series for salaries, we're going to be seeing an approximate 2.6% increase over the current fiscal year that we're in. That's due to contractual raises and obligations. And as the superintendent, as she mentioned, that we had to add in some money into the substitute line item. So the total for the 51,000 series for the projected fiscal year 25 budget is $55,303,291. Move on to the next slide, please. In the 52,000 series for the benefits, approximately a 3.4% increase over the current year. As I've stated before, the big hitter for us was the healthcare increase that we have. We have a significant prescription claim that we could have for who knows how long. So that also coupled with the mandated increases that the governor implemented for the employees' retirement system. So that had some increases in it as well. An area that I would like to point out, account 52710, workers' compensation. We have a small reduction. After years of increases, we are seeing a reduction. The credit has to go out to the district's safety committee that is headed by our human resources department, and as well to all of our staff for raising their awareness for workplace safety. But a reduction is in the right trend. So the total for the benefits for the 52,000 series, $24,025,397. Moving on to the next slide, please. In the 53,000 series for the professional and technical services, a 5% reduction over the current year. Account 53202, speech therapists. This was actually a change from the budget workshop. The superintendent and I met and we added in $65,000 into that line item. We had originally presented that to you as zero. That line item may need to be increased as time goes on. However, we still do have needs of IEPs that we have to meet, so we didn't want to leave that line item blank. As the superintendent has already said, line 53222, all of our educational software, the web-based software, is no longer being funded by the ESSER grant, so that's coming back into the budget. Account 53403, one-to-one health providers. Due to the exits of a couple of students, we have no need to contract for a nurse and a certified nursing assistant, so that's why there's a reduction in that line item. Line 53406, other athletic supervision. That increase over the budget from this year was due to the fact that now that the athletic trainer is here practically full-time at the high school. We've got a slight decrease in police, the details to accurately reflect what the amount is projected to be. And then finally, in 53502, on the next slide, please, for tech services, there's a slight increase. This is the stipends that we pay to the students from East Providence High School who help us out in the tech department. A very successful program, so much so that we recently hired a former student who used to be in the program. He graduated, went out into the workforce, worked for a few years, and we had an opening, and he applied, and he got the job. So, great job. So total for the 53,000 series, $1,615,000. Next slide, please. 54,000 series, property services, approximately a 5% reduction overall. In this section here is all of the property services that we need to operate the buildings. And we see here, starting at the 54,311, those are any, furniture and equipment, service contracts. So any outside vendor that we have to bring in to help our staff, or if we don't have the expertise, this is where that would leave. In 54,322 HVAC service, we put a slight reduction in that line item. We've got a great team in place, but we do have HVAC issues that pop up every so often, so we wanted to leave some money in there. So the total for the 54,000 series is $640,000. Next slide, please. 55,000 series, superintendent has already hit upon some of these areas. Transportation increase, while we did see a reduction in workers' comp, however, our property and liability insurance, we have an increase in that line item, as well. Account 55,640, ed services in state. We zeroed that line item out with the closure of the East Bay Educational Collaborative on July 1st. All of those students are going to be coming back to our new alternative program. And we also have no students that are at the West Bay Collaborative. So we have zeroed that line item out. And then finally, in account 55,650, ed services out of state. We have a number of students who attend the South Coast Educational Collaborative programs that are in Seekonk and Swansea. That $1.4 million is probably pretty accurate to where we're going to land for this year. But again, account 55,630, 640, and 650 has always been a volatile area for us. So the total for the 55,000 series for other services is $14,942,274. Next slide, please. Supplies for the 56,000 series. So approximately a 16% increase over the current fiscal year. So contained in here are all of the supplies that we need to give to the teachers to operate the classrooms, any supplies that our maintenance crew need to do any of the maintenance repair work that they do, glass supplies, paint supplies, wood, plumbing and heating, electrical. The superintendent had mentioned the custodial supplies, account 56,219, so that's coming back into the general fund budget for this year at $225,000. So the total for the 56,000 series, $2,539,000. Next slide, please. 57,000 series, property. Once again, due to the budgetary constraints that we have, unfortunately, there are no funds set aside in account 57,102 and 57,202. However, if there are issues that come up that are emergency issues that we have to fix, we're going to take care of them. But in terms of the budget, in order to make the budget be balanced, the superintendent and I felt that those line items should remain zero. Again, in account 57,311, superintendent had talked about web-based software. The other technology piece that we have is the tech software. So all of the software that we need to run the operational systems of the district, that's coming back into the general fund as well.
So I just want to also mention with the building improvements line item, a lot of the work that we have done has been bond money, grant money, and then ESSA money. So we have been doing, and as you can see, we're in the middle of quite a few projects, but that is where the funding has been coming from to address a lot of these issues.
Thank you. Valid point, Superintendent. So for 57,000 series, $250,000. Next slide. 58,000 series is being miscellaneous. So this is sort of any fees and other things that might come up. No budget change to this section. It's flat, same as last year, $82,000. So our grand total for an expense budget is $99,396,962. That's the expenses. We need to talk about the revenues, about how we're going to pay. So if you can go over to the next slide, please. So the revenues. So we are proposing a request, an increase of the city of the maximum amount that we can do, which is $2.2 million. So our request to the city would be for $57,203,620. Our state aid, we have taken a slight reduction, about $186,000. We initially were slated to take a $1 million cut. However, the legislators, during the month of June, were able to make it work so that the slight cut that we're taking is more palatable than a $1 million cut. Tuition from the other districts. So this is based upon tuition rates that are set by RIDE. And it is set by each town, and whether or not you are a student who lives in poverty and is receiving free meal benefits or not. So right now, I am projecting the tuition for other districts to be $1.4 million, a slight reduction, but again, we won't know. Once school starts, we'll have a better idea of where the number will land because of the first bills that go out and what students qualify for free lunch or not. Rental income. So for when our buildings are used for various groups, outside groups, all of the elementary schools, the high school here, we have that budgeted for $190,000. So that's up from this year at $125,000. Refund prior year expense. So regardless of what happens, we always have an issue where we're getting a refund from the prior fiscal year. So we always leave that number in at 25,000 because there's always going to be something that comes back. The Medicaid. So we are reimbursed quarterly for the services that we provide. And so we have an outside company that helps facilitate that process for us, and so we are projecting the income that we get back at $1,250,000. TIAA reimbursement. TIAA is part of the state-mandated employees' retirement system with the great pension reform of 2009, and so for the teachers, for the certified staff, we are reimbursed a percentage of, depending upon the years that the teacher has in. So roughly the refund amount that we're going to get back is about $130,000. And then finally, miscellaneous. So you'll notice that that's a significant jump from $25,000 to $340,591. One of the things that we have, so we have an OPEB trust account. So that the Rhode Island Interlocal Risk Management Trust manages for us through a third-party agent. And so to help offset the increase of healthcare costs, we can draw down from that account any expenses that can be used to cover the healthcare costs of retirees. So this year, to help us balance that budget out, we're going to be making a withdrawal of about $320,000. That will be a one-time withdrawal that's going to come in, which is going to help offset the healthcare increase that we have. Okay? So that brings our total revenue to match the expenses of $99,396,962. Thank you. Any other comments you want to make?
No.
Okay.
So this is how much each of these districts, the city, how much of the budget, the municipal budget contribution to the school department. So we actually made some gain from last year. We were just under 49% that the city contributed. We're at 56.6% right now. And you can see some of the surrounding communities that we contacted for their information. Next slide, please. And then just since 2017, this slide just shows the percentage that the school district has received from the city since 2017. So you can see this year we're asking for the full 4%. Last year we asked for the 3.8%, and you can see prior years what we've received in increases to school department funding from the city. Okay, next slide. That's it. Do you have any questions for us?
Questions, comments from the committee?
No. Nope. Do you want to stay too?
Yeah, so, thank you for the work that you put in for doing this. And for creating this presentation, all the work that goes into creating a budget of this size, managing it, meeting with us multiple times, going over this. I just want to make a quick comment. I do have a question as well to follow up, but the other night, Jess Bouchane and I went to the city council meeting. As previously, I spoke with both Councilmember Lawson, Councilmember Rigo, to let them know that we are going to be approaching our city council with the request of the city maximum increase, and that just about every single dollar from that maximum increase goes towards supporting and paying our teachers' salaries and benefits. Therefore, leaving our district with no additional funding, and in fact actually leaving our district with less funding as our state aid has decreased.
Correct.
So, we also, with your support, Dr. Ferrand, were able to have Councilmember Lawson put onto their city council agenda just a discussion item to talk about the need of those additional capital projects and improvements that you shared with us this evening, because it's a tremendous need that our district has, roughly $4 million worth of need, and that's something that I assume our city would be able to afford in one fall swoop. However, if there's potential of funding that our city can provide our school department, as shown this evening, there are capital needs to ensure the highest quality of education possible. So I just wanted to, make that, let folks know that those conversations are happening at the city council level. The city council members are aware of our needs. It was encouraging to hear comment of support from our city council, much appreciated as well. But, you know, there is a great need here as shown in our budget, where we are looking at pretty much a loss year over year of revenue coming in, especially with state aid. Again, quick appreciation to the local legislative team that we're surrounded by for, you know, advocating for not just our district, but districts around the state to ensure, you know, as much state aid could come back to districts' budgets as needed. Because as we can see here, you know, every dollar in our district counts tremendously. And so a question I had, Dr. Ferrand, would be if you could just talk quickly about the strategy that you put in place. It's very, you know, it can be very discouraging, very disheartening to see that, you know, there are 15 less educators in our district. I know that there's an association with the, you know, lesser enrollments that we have coming in, and an association with the lesser amount of dollars we're able to spend. However, if you could just talk about the strategy that you used, you know, to decide what classrooms may not be, you know, as needed as you created this budget.
Yeah, so we really tried to look at the positions that would have the least impact on our students. You could probably see it under the enrollment numbers, but our kindergarten enrollment is very low this year. Surprisingly, we knew there was going to be a decrease, but I'm quite honestly surprised at how much of a decrease we've seen. We still have 2 weeks to go, so I anticipate some new enrollments, but we're in the 320s. We had 425 kindergarten seats. We had 17 classrooms throughout the district. So at this point, we've reduced 2 kindergarten classes, and we still have approximately 50 open seats in the district for kindergarten spread throughout the district. Those schools where we closed a kindergarten, those classrooms are full. We've capped them, but we still have available seats in neighboring schools. So we looked at that. We had a classroom that there were 50 seats available. It was a 4th grade classroom. They had 25 students combined. So we combined that classroom. So we really tried to look at the numbers in the district and the classrooms that were available that were low on numbers that we could combine without having to move any students or impacting students. We looked at our MLL numbers, which we were able to eliminate 1 position there. We had added 3 resource positions at the elementary level through ESSA funding. Those numbers were low, so we eliminated those positions. So we really tried to be strategic. I mean, obviously not everyone would be happy with those changes, but we tried to have the least impact on children when we made those 15 cuts. Every cut hurts, believe me. We lost a lot of sleep over making those decisions, and we're still, you know, losing sleep over the budget because we know it's going to be tight. A shift in students that come in from out of district or, you know, could significantly impact the budget. So like I said, we just tried to be really strategic and look at the cuts that we could make that would have the least impact.
Yeah, thank you. You know, and in addition, I think it was really highlighted to me again this evening, looking when Mr. Enos presented and highlighted item number, was it, didn't make a comment here. Custodial supplies. Yep. So custodial supplies this year, we're budgeting to spend $225,000. Obviously, these are of great need and great use. However, bless you. However, you know, previous years we were spending $0. And that's because those funds were being covered by grants. And so it's something that's extremely important for our community to be aware of, that, you know, right now, not only are we seeing roughly $200,000 lesser of state aid, but we're also seeing a minimization of grant funding that we were using in our district to be able to, you know, create this budget and to continue to grow and prosper. And so it's right now, I'm feeling that, having really strong lines of communication, not only from our school committee or our school district, but within our community, and really being out there and advocating for other elected officials and other allies in our state that are going to support the formulation and the application of grant funding and increasing of state aid for education systems is extremely important. And so, I thought that was it's a very striking line, just because it's that $225,000 is 2 teachers, and that's gone away because grants funding has gone away. So, it's an extremely important thing to just really consider, especially in this climate and where we are in 2024, of just really folks like being an advocate and really looking closely into budget line items, because when monies like this are being removed, it makes a huge impact.
Yep.
So to follow up on your point, when I come up here every month and I talk to the parents who are watching and I say www.myschoolapps.com, poverty is part of that. We're asking parents, please fill the application out. We know that there are families who would qualify and there are families in need, they just won't fill the application out. And so was our state aid because poverty is on a decrease in here? Probably, but we also have many families who should be qualifying, who don't follow the steps to fill out the application. Thank you.
Really quickly, just for my education, the forms that would be filled out by families in need, say a free or reduced school lunch form, where does that go? Who sees that form? How publicly accessible is that form?
Sure. So that is a confidential process that's handled by the administrative assistant in my office. The secretaries will send the envelope, will collect, and they will seal up the envelopes, make sure they're sealed, because they send the applications out with an envelope. Comes back to our office sealed, we open it up, and then we process it. And a change that I just wanted to make to parents who might be watching, the governor in the budget for this year has included money to offset the cost of all reduced lunch prices for this year. So if there are families who might be on the edge and who, if you're thinking about it, it's going to be zero. So because it is contained within the budget for this year, so that's really great and helpful for many families. But that process is all handled through my office. It's confidential, and we have the online portal that we have as well. And then what happens, we take the applications through, I think this year it's October 10th, that's the magic date. And then once we hit that date, we have to do what's called we're required to do a verification. And so the computer program we have will randomly select a percentage of the applications, usually about 15 to 20. And then we have to get from the parents, verify through check stubs, and all of that. So, thank you.
Also, what information do you have to put on the forms? It's not Social Security number.
Nope.
It's not.
So it has to be any family members, any people that are living in your home, and any of the income of the people that reside in that home. If they work, if they're retired, if they receive a disability check, if the student has a part-time job, you're supposed to put that down as well. Social Security number is not required, and it's very important that you have a application that is signed. If we don't have an application that's signed, we're going to be sending that application back to you and have you sign that so we can process it.
And if you need help in East Providence on August 19th from 4 to 7, it is at the library. If you need help to fill out the forms, East Providence Library, August 19th.
Yep, we have forms in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, and as well as the USDA on their website has hundreds of different languages for applications as well. Thank you.
So I just quickly want to, about the grants. So I did ask that those grant-funded positions be talked about tonight, that you put up there, for the purpose of, we did talk a lot tonight about buildings and construction and great things about buildings and not so great things about buildings, but we really didn't talk about education at all, about teaching and learning. But these grant-funded positions at $4.7 million, $4.7 million of educators, free. A whole preschool, free. They get to eat for free, right? The state pays for them. This is hard work by educators in our system. This just doesn't come to us. They have to work to get these grants. Educators in our system, people that work for the city of East Providence, have to continuously get these grant-funded positions to continue to come here, or we'll lose them. Years ago, we started to put these positions back. Dr. Fran wasn't the superintendent, but she sat on the meetings, I know she did, because we were afraid that we were going to lose them. There's still a dean on here that we weren't able to put in the budget, and I'm thankful that that dean is still on here, but we had positions that we didn't have in the budget that were on all these grant-funded positions. And we slowly, a couple years ago, started to put them back in the budget because we weren't going to have them. Because come today, we would have lost them all. I just, $4.7 million of positions that are grant-funded in the East Providence school system this year.
And that, we also have another grant, the Project Aware grant, where we have $200,000 put aside for a BCBA to support behavior throughout the district. So it's not an employee of the district, but it still is another person that will support teachers and administrators with student behavior. So, I mean, those are district employees. We still have other grants that we write for services to support students and staff.
This is work behind the scenes that we're doing, our employees are doing, so that we can better students in our schools. My end of the budget, I spoke with you about the speech therapist. You had it $0 at the meeting that I missed. I sat with you and I said, you can't have it at $0. I know I spoke to Ryan, I know I spoke to Jenny about it. I told you both I would not sit here and allow that to be $0. I wouldn't pass the budget at $0. It's just not possible to have that at $0. I mean, $65,000 doesn't cover a speech pathologist, just in case we needed it, but it would do a halftime. So I just want to say that I feel a little better about that, and I just want to applaud you guys for listening to me. I'm concerned. I'm not concerned at all. I just would like some explanation. And again, I apologize if you did discuss this at the last meeting. The 53406, the athletic supervisor that apparently went from 9,500 to 54,000.
That's the athletic trainer.
Yeah, so did we hire her full-time now?
No.
No.
The cost has risen. We
Yep.
pay through, what are they now, Peak? High Bar. We pay through High Bar. She's contracted.
Yep.
And so the costs have gone up. Right, plus,
$20,000?
yeah, plus her hours have increased.
$20,000. She's brilliant. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, she went up $20,000.
Well, I don't know that we were paying fully for her services up to this point. We're actually I think we're one of the only districts that is contracting now through High Bar, I think they
Okay.
said to us. So there's concern that I don't know if that will continue, and we may have to look at other options, but for now.
I'm just still trying to find enough money to get my social worker back, so obviously I've been doing whatever I can, because that, to me, is the one position here that is a forward-facing position. When you have more children at Waddington than you do at RMS, which you do, according to that, I need that social worker back, so I'm going to do whatever I can to look at this budget. And I also know that you two worked your butts off on this budget, and who am I to say that you don't know where you're spending your money, because you do know where you're spending your money, and but I'm also going to try to figure out how I can get some money.
We're still looking at options. There's still a couple things that we're hoping might be a shift. I mean, it's not going to be substantial changes to the budget, but we are still looking at numbers in classrooms. We're looking at everything. We know that position's
You
important.
didn't plan for snow this year, which I think is great.
Well, that's just the outside contractors. Our guys do it, yeah. We were lucky this year, too, that we didn't have any snow, or very little.
I'm not happy that you didn't put in for professional development, which I also spoke to you about when I met with you. And I don't think that's fair for teachers or for anybody else. And I understand that everyone needs to make cuts, but I still don't think that's.
Yeah, and we're going to do a lot of that internally. Some of the things that we've brought into the district, we also have put some of that in Project Aware. So we were kind of able to find like other grants where we might be able to put some of it. But yeah, I mean, our staff needs professional development. So we try to be very transparent with the budget. I mean, you see up there, you'll see fiscal year 23, you see fiscal year 24, and you see our proposed 25 budget, and you see our year-to-date spending on 2024. So we try to put all the numbers in front of you so you can see what we've budgeted for and what we spent to date this year. And that's what we look at, line item by line item, when we draft the budget. You know, and there were some things that were overspent this year, and there were some things that were underspent, and then we look at those line items and we make adjustments as, you know, we think we can.
Can I ask a question about tuition? So the tuition that comes from other districts, that includes our CTC center, correct?
Correct.
So with 191 students coming from out of district this year, which I believe is more than
No, so that was 191 on the wait list. We have 24 new ninth graders coming into the CTC. So,
I was counting the old ones.
yeah, so I think there's
yeah.
there's just under 100 students, I believe, out of district, and those are only in programs that are not filled with our students,
Correct.
and where students did not apply for those.
I know that.
Yeah,
I know the whole
I just want
sheet.
everyone to know priority goes to East Providence students first. In programs that have open seats after we fill all the seats with East Providence residents, that's where we take out of district students. I mean, we could fill those.
I think I already got that for the
Yeah.
people out there.
We
I
could
think I've already
definitely add
solved that
more.
issue out in Facebook land. But so,
What, 90? 94 out-of-district CTC students.
and do
Total.
we know how much that is, or again,
Yeah,
can I go back
that's-
to what you said? Is that based on free and reduced lunch? Right. And
It's-
that rate is different is that rate though different per city too?
So it's approximately
yeah.
1.4 million.
Okay.
That's,
Okay, so what the finance director said is not only based on free and reduced, it's based on what town or city we receive the child from. Is there a city or town we want them from? Just curious, okay. Okay, one more.
I mean, I just want to just state that we are grateful to our state delegation for the work they did on the budget, because as Mr. Queenan said, initially we were looking at $1 million cut, and I don't know where we would have cut $1 million from this budget. So we are very grateful that we pretty much broke even because of their hard work at the State House. But, I encourage everyone to continue to advocate for educational funding. I mean, we could do it during COVID when they put millions of dollars into schools through ESSA funding, and then all of that funding dries up and we're all hitting a financial cliff. We're in much better shape than most districts because we knew this funding was going to come to an end, and we used a lot of the funding for one-time expenses, which is what it was intended for. But it's still, if that money was available to schools and children and districts, like, some of that money should still be available. So I encourage people, some people advocated for positions to be returned. I hope that they still advocate for additional funding for the entire district, because as you can see, we certainly could use additional funding to bring back some positions and to fund some of the line items that, we've had to move things around. I don't like the fact that we've withdrawn money from OPEB, but that's the reality this year that we'll have to do.
Did we get the 10,000 back from the bridge?
We have not gotten the 10,000 from the bridge yet.
So we still didn't get the 10,000 from the bridge.
We have not.
Ms. Furtado, can you please take that to where you need to take that, please? Thank you. That was from the bridge from December of 2023. Thank you.
I have been following up with that. I've been that annoying.
It's only $10,000, but that's $10,000 to a
Constantly checking.
half-time social worker.
In 2023, just so everybody knows where we got the snow removal, that was outside vendors. Correct. Did we use that $25,000? Gotcha. And then in 2024, we budgeted $20,000 for outside vendors. We didn't use the outside vendor, but are we concerned, because this is where I'm following this, where we had money in the budgeted, which we didn't use it. Now we're also line item out where the year before we had that money.
We've shifted it to a different line item, which is probably what it was used for at the time.
The snow removal.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, but the concern that I look at this is we don't have that, say, in 2023, we don't have that 25,000 shift, and then in 2024, we don't have that, even though we budgeted, we didn't have that money to shift. We're going into 2025 with another zero line item, like, that's, when I look at this and say, we were using money that we really didn't use, but we didn't budget it this year, which makes that a compounded problem. I see this.
Well, and also, I just wanted to point out that if you recall, Tony, losing the $80,000 in state aid year over year, the difference between FY 23 and 24 on this budget right here is $34,000. So, unfortunately, I think that the 100%, 99.9, 100% of the $2.2 million that's in this budget that we will be requesting from City Council of an increase for next year, that $2.2 million goes completely towards paying all teacher salaries and benefits, and then we're left with having kind of a negative 180,000.
Right.
And so therefore,
Yeah.
the 180,000 needs to come out of the budget. So what what I see there is just they minimize that item line to make up the offset the 180. So that equals 34.
And we don't anticipate the need for an outside vendor. We've upgraded our equipment. We have the sander, we have the Kubota here that does the sidewalks and everything. So we don't anticipate needing money in that line item. We do that work ourselves. Yeah, it had to go. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's we had to cut. Right.
You know you're not going to need, but we can use it. I look up,
Right.
I get up January 1st, I don't get the 25,000. I start to sweat that. And when you look at these other items that we're kind of doing that with.
I mean,
I think it was mulch, if I recall.
Oh yeah, playground mulch.
I do.
And honestly, we had a $100,000 surplus last year. When you look at a budget that's $98 million, that's pennies. That's like one thing goes wrong and that goes from a $100,000 surplus to a deficit. So, I mean, we cut it really close. I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to spend our money, but there's not a lot of breathing room.
The tech software, 57,311, $195,000. That's was formerly grant money as well. And then also the okay, so 53,222, $400,000 for web-based supplies. That was also grant-funded money that's gone as well. So, you know, on top of the 180, we'll call it, from the state aid, we're talking about 400,000 on the web-based supplies, 225 on custodial supplies, 625 plus the 195 for tech software. You know, that's close to $800,000 plus. It's getting a little late. My math is getting a little slower, but you know, that's close to almost $1 million right there, and just on grant money that we had last year that we don't have this year as well. So, you know, a major challenge.
Craig, the percentage that we're getting from the city, once again, is at 48%?
No, if we get the 2.2 million, we actually have jumped up to 56.6. Last year it was almost 49%. So last year when we got the just under 2 point, I think it was, what was it? 2 million, jumped us up a little in the percentage the city was contributing.
For many, many years to 56%? Get the 2.2 million? Land improvement, $0. That would be what we're looking at for parking lots. Bench repairs, is that what we would consider land? $0 for any of that. And then we don't even want to talk about the big building.
Those are like major projects, which we're hoping the city council will be able to help us with some capital expenses. And they've been very good to us in the past, so. And we actually are scheduled, Sharon, is the 24th of September for city council? I think it's the September 24th to present to city council.
Accomplished, but as I stated last week, and I did the same last week, I cannot support this budget based on, you know, $2 million cuts, 15 employees going. And the reason, my main driver is this is, all we hear about is, you know, the city is doing so well, so well, so well. We have a lot more building in the city. We have a lot more apartments in here. We probably got $6 million in speed money camera and stuff, and we have to sit here and our staff's got to cut $2 million, and I'm glad it's not 15 positions. I mean 17, it's 15, and that just, the city's got money. There's an individual that's got a hidden box with money, and Brian, like you said the other day, some of it come up, $400,000, $500,000 money just floating in accounts, and we're going to ask our team to come up with a budget that is an incredible budget, but we did have to cut $2-something million, 15 positions, and I don't think we can keep asking our administration to keep going to the well and pulling up half buckets of water year after year after year. Our buckets are getting less and less, and the city is growing. We're bringing in new businesses. We do lose businesses. We got apartments, and I understand everybody says some of them aren't rented, and the flip side is I could say I'm glad about that per se, not for the developer, but for the city as a whole, because the tax bill is the tax bill, whether they're filled or they're not filled. And sad to say this as a builder myself, the ones that ain't filled, at least we don't have students coming. So we have an awful lot of apartments that came online, massive amounts of money came into this city, and we're gonna hope that we get to 2.2. That's a given. We've got good people sitting there. We don't have to sit here and pretend we're gonna go begging and pleading for $2.2 million. For the education team we got and where we're going, that's a given. We need $1 million more going forward. So, once again, like last year, a one-time fee, because we don't want to incorporate it where we hold anybody to it. I don't believe in that. But we got money. Once again, we had the mayor here. The only time he comes to a meeting is when he's going to get plastered out on Facebook. That's my belief. But he did come to a meeting. I asked him about the $5 million. At that point, it was 8. We give the company 60%. We were left with about 4.6. Nobody knows where that went. We should be getting at least 40% of that speed camera money put into our budget on a yearly basis, as long as them cameras are in the city. This school committee wants to fight for money. That's the money we should be fighting for, because they were put there under the pretext to keep our kids safe, keep the community, and we have not seen one penny of that money year after year after year, and it's okay for him to fill his budget holes. We got a $2.2 million hole. What do we got to fill it? We're gonna beck and plead to get money? I'm not buying it, and as long as this school committee sits here, doesn't fight for more of this camera money, bigger percentages, never support a budget knowing that the mayor's sitting on $3, $4, $5 million, has never given us a penny of it, and my staff, our staff, is doing a phenomenal job educating 5,200 kids. It's a phenomenal job that I would never want to wake up and do, and that's why more money, and it can't be a week or two before the budget. I said this before, we should be meeting on quarterly basis, somebody coming, saying this is where we're at. I yelled and screamed last year, we're looking at $3, $4 million, and there was no input from us to go to the council, no input from the council to come and see us. We can't accomplish these kind of problems 1 and 2 weeks before. $100 million. You don't sit down 1 and 2 and 3 weeks before. Staggering number, at least for this city it is, but
And again, thank you both. I did attend, I think it was for budget. Yes, we're already ahead of the ball. I think, based on my conversations with a pattern across the board, everyone is now federal money essentially drying up. Now, but no, thank you to you guys for presenting this workshop. I had plenty of questions then, and I got lots of answers to that, so that's why I didn't really have too much to follow up on for tonight.
I have one more question. Sorry, just a quick one. Essentially tonight, this budget approval would be for the total number, the $99,396,972, not necessarily the cemented numbers of each individual line item. Is that correct? So even with an approval this evening, the line item numbers can adjust. That total number cannot adjust.
Correct.
And that total number is a reflection of the city maximum increase of 4% that's in our city charter. That's the maximum we can ask for. And
Correct.
and it includes every dollar of revenue that we would be able to get up until this budget is due to ride. Is that correct as well?
Yes,
Yes. So that 99,396,962 number is the maximum number this budget will ever be.
correct.
And again, I'm sorry, just one more time, like line item numbers can adjust.
Correct. Like I still anticipate our salary line item will adjust a little bit because we still have a couple of teachers that we are hiring. So we may lose a top step teacher and hire a first step teacher. So that's a $50,000 swing. I can't anticipate that. We might lose a top step teacher and replace him with a top step teacher. So until our personnel has all settled, and again, we only have a couple of positions, but we just had a resignation yesterday. So we still are getting people that are moving districts. So you may see a very small swing in that line item. But again, 50,000 is 50,000. So if we get 3 top step teachers, go down, it's, like I said, that salary line item right now, or we may hire someone that doesn't take benefits, and then that's a $25,000 savings. So those, the salary line item was done at the time with the personnel that was in place when we pulled those salary line items.
Correct. I just want to
Yeah.
ensure that
So
this committee and members of our community are aware of the actual, the reality of what we can do to ensure the financial health of our district. And right now, the number we have here as a total is the maximum that you two will ever be able to present to this committee for this specific budget. And what we can do as a community would be to advocate for additional supports from our city, whether it's a week before, 3 weeks before, 3 months before, however amount of time people want to put into the advocacy of it. But that's really the only way we can get more money into this budget.
And at the federal and state level, because the city is contributing the maximum that they can contribute, but where we really got hurt was the state aid and federal aid. So,
And the creation of grants.
Right.
That's on a federal level for most of these grants, correct?
right.
Thank you.
Would you, if you guys, so this isn't due until October? No, I mean, our fiscal year is up when? October 31st?
City council needs it before
I
that.
know, but when's the latest you would have to get this done? The latest? The absolute latest?
I mean, we would want it in their hands before we meet on the 24th, so at least
Has to be
of August. August 23rd.
What happens if this doesn't pass tonight, since there's only 4 of us?
We have to
what's
come back to the table.
ramifications of this?
Aren't actual, consequences.
I'm asking, if you went home tonight, will this change tomorrow? If you went home and slept, would your numbers change tomorrow?
As Mr. Queenan said, the 99 million is the 99 million.
There's nothing you can do.
No.
The only one that
There's-
can do this is someone coming from the city, which I don't see them coming down. I don't see anyone talking. I mean, nothing's changed since the last meeting. No one met with the mayor. No one met with the city council. We went to city council. It was just Ryan and I. They called us out. Again, no one has done anything, right? We have no other financial.
I will just add, I did have a conversation with the mayor, but it was just, we are in dire needs, and that was pretty much where.
I mean, I will tell you, he told me I'm not getting money.
So,
I mean, he flat out told me I was not getting money. Flat out. And I believe you were witness to that. I believe there were a couple other people witness to that. So, I took that as he doesn't have money for me. I asked.
And like what happened at the city council meeting, as I mentioned earlier in this conversation, I felt that the majority of the
You were
city
there.
council members.
Thank you. I do have a witness. I just realized that. There was a witness that saw it.
I mean, if not all city council members were in 100% of, the importance of education
Yep.
and the preservation of our facilities and the encouragement of, instilling a high quality education. So I felt very confident.
Right.
That, our city council members are going to do
Oh, 100%.
what they can do.
I agree.
But the only additional funding, Jess, right, that can come into, it would not come onto this budget.
Correct.
As it happened last year, like the $364,000, the Myron J. Francis boiler
Right.
was paid for by our city. That came on after our budget.
Right, they held an account, and then they held an account, they told us, you know, we had prioritized our needs, they told us we'll cover this, this, and this, and then we submitted the receipts to them, and they paid the bills for
And
those.
after our discussion, Dr. Ferrand, after I discussed with a handful of our city council members, and then you and I spoke, did you share that list you shared with us this evening to city council?
I shared, one city council member told me to hold it until they weren't ready for it.
And again, those can only be capital.
Correct.
Right,
They can't be, and I'm more looking for the forward, like, I'm more concerned about a couple other items that can't help us. We can't turn that and put that back in the budget. And that's my thing is, I would rather take out a couple items, hope that they could pay for that, and then that would give us more money to work with what we have.
does it have to be
And
capital?
that's my fear. There is a position we desperately need in this budget. I agree, I know we need it, she knows we need it, we need it. It's the same thing that you know you need it, like, we need it. And we need it. They need it. They have one, and they need two. And they have more kids than the school next to them. So, again, I have all my faith that it's going to happen, but I just, you know, it's tough. It's tough. I agree with Tony. I agree with him when he says there is money out there. I agree. There is money out there. But they're the professionals. This is what he does. He's never steered us wrong. Since he's been working for the school department, he has never steered us wrong. I'm not going to argue with him and say, well, I know more than he does based on these numbers. He looks at them every day. Every single day, he looks at these numbers.
We were just saying, though, there could be movement in other line items. Like, we reimburse the city for trash pickup. Like, if the city was to pay for trash pickup, then that frees up money in the budget that could be allocated to something else without adding an additional, without going over that 4% cap.
Does that
Or
change the total amount on the?
does not change the total amount.
Total amount is.
Right, the total amount that you vote on tonight is going to be the total
So
amount.
we vote on the total amount. The total amount is the total amount.
Yep.
That still could get us that position. It could still get us something that we need. It could
In a
still-
different,
Thank you. That's all.
yes.
But see, just what we should do is, like you said, is where you say, at the end of the day, take everybody to the end of this table and see who's gonna jump off. Because we have $100,000 in this budget to pay for trash. A trash compact in the city is a total nightmare. We just give the city a check for $100,000. If we refuse to pay it, what are they gonna do to us? A trash collection at our school is a total disaster. We know that, everybody knows it. So if we just refuse, we could fill that position that we're talking about with that $100,000, and just when they send us a bill, shred it.
We could just, or we could ask them if they could pay it, like,
They're not gonna pick up on trash.
I mean, I would rather ask them.
right.
I mean, first.
We've been asking just for how many years?
I mean, I'd like to ask them first.
Yeah, it's, we have a good relationship, so maybe, well, with,
Dr. Ferrand has a
right.
relationship.
I'd rather just, you know,
Yeah, it's a power struggle. Don't pay the bill, fill the position, Jeff, fill the position, call everybody up.
I
How
mean-
come nobody wants to operate in the real world? This going to beg and plead to educate the society that we all live in this city for blows my mind. There's somebody sitting with massive amounts of money, and here we are talking about $100,000 position, and they don't want to pay for our garbage bill. Don't pay it. Do we pay them for water and sewer? Don't pay that. See, start hitting them in their pocket, and I want to see what they're going to do. Call people like we do to these guys. We say to them, please get us a budget based on $2.2 million and educate 200 kids and pay 800 employees. That's what we did to you, right, Craig? See, at the end of the day, we asked them to do it, and did they fulfill the obligation to us? Yes, so we're saying, don't pay for water, don't pay for sewer, don't pay for gas, fill the positions, and let's see what they're gonna do to us.
Tony, there was a time we painted classrooms and they just said, go ahead and do it. They were like, go ahead, paint the classrooms, because we're not painting them.
Yeah, but until we get to that point, just because they knew we were gonna be in this position last year. We're gonna be in the same position, but worse next year. And the year after, once Martin gets on board, we're really gonna be, how are we maintaining these multi-million-dollar buildings with no
Are there any additional questions or comments regarding the budget? I have the public comments. First, we have Ms. Chrissy Rossi.
Can you hear me? It was last time I touched this, I took out the whole rig. I have so many things I want to talk about, but I know you guys aren't going to talk to me, so I'm not going to waste my time. Geez, here we go. I would like to say, though, at the last meeting that we had, Jenny, you said you appointed 2 people to the negotiation team. And I said, how can that be happening? So I went and I pulled your policy, like you guys have your bylaws. And in your bylaws, if you take a look at page 6, Article 5, Section 1, and I'll give you a copy, appointments. It's right here, but it's too small for me to read. There are a total of 4 collective bargaining agreements. The chair will appoint 2 committee members to each contract negotiating committee regarding a collective bargaining agreement. Such appointment shall be affirmed by a majority of the school committee. And I sit right there in front of you guys every time there's a meeting. I try not to miss any. I haven't heard you guys take one vote about negotiation committees. So to prevent any issues with the ethics complaint problems that sometimes arise, I would say put it on your next meeting, so then you can appoint and get affirmative votes. And just 3 times tonight, you made a joke about the meeting that you missed. I truly don't find it funny, but I'll just leave it there. Have a good night.
Item, we have action items. First, is consider and vote to approve the Code of Student Conduct that's up for a second read. I'll entertain any comments regarding this. If not, I'll also entertain a motion from the committee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Approved. Are there any nays? Okay. Second, we have a consider and vote to approve the proposed fiscal year 2025 school budget. Is there any comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I just want to clarify one last time. So the total amount of money in this budget is the total amount of money no matter what else happens. That is the maximum amount of money on the total line that we would be able to have in this budget. Yes? And we would be, you and your team would have the authority and autonomy to be able to manipulate the line items as needed within the parameters of that total amount of money,
Yes, if things change,
if things change.
right. If salaries change, if benefits were to change, then that money could be reallocated to a different line.
I mean, with that, I make a motion to pass this budget at, with the maximum ask and increase we can.
Is there a second? All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays?
Nay.
Third item, we have consider and vote to award the material handling equipment RFP, and I
This RFP was reviewed last night at the building committee and approved, so tonight's coming to your approval. On June 25th, we published an RFP for a material handling equipment to be used here solely at the high school. It was one of the items that was listed on the capital project request list, so the bond will be paying for this. Submissions were received on August 1st. We received 5 bid responses, with 1 bid response considered not being valid. So out of the 4 vendors, we're asking you to make an award tonight to RS Equipment. They were the highest scorer on the rubric, and it also happened to be the lowest price for $82,570. This was reviewed by the Director of Facilities and myself, and so we're asking you to make this award. Thank you very much.
Craig, just a question. What are we going to use this for? Can you clarify this?
Danny? I know it's got a fork, it's got a platform, and it's got a bucket. That's about all I know.
Yeah, so I can clarify that. It's a lull. It's a mini lull. We're going to use it for snow removal mainly. You can use it as a forklift or a man lift. It has multi-functions, but it's mainly for snow removal in the parking lot here, so we can get the snow further out if we ever have to, out into that far corner of the parking lot, because with the Bobcat and some of the other items we have, we can only pile it in the corner, and we have no other equipment to get it out of the parking lot and load trucks if we have to.
Is there any, like, this is kind of new to me, and I'm feeling like I'm not sure that I missed something in, like, the packet or the handle materials, and, like, no disrespect at all, but I'm just curious, like, I don't recall seeing, like, the bids, like, you know, where this stood on anything, with the specs of this material, like, kind of, this went down last night.
Yes.
And so, but we just don't have anything in front of us to kind of look over. It's just kind of, we want to approve this $85,000 Bobcat. It sounds like it'd be a great use, for sure. But I'm just wanting to make sure, maybe Jenny or Dr. Ferren, is there anything that was missed from our packet, or?
Craig, do we have the information on that?
Huh?
Everything should be in the RFP, if that's applied. Craig should have it.
Does not have the RFP in front of me?
I need to apologize. So I should have included that as part. I was going to send that under a separate cover for you, and I had sent that to the building committee, and I could have sworn I sent it to the school committee, but I'm just checking my sent email file, and so I apologize that that did not get sent. I did? Oh. I can't find it. Oh, I did. Here it is. Yep, August 12th. Sorry, it's right there.
Fresh copy, but I know at some point.
Oh, gotcha.
This for, the reason that the building committee is, yes, what, is it 17 bush lists they have, or is it 27?
I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Was this part of that 27 bush list?
Yes, this was part of the initial list.
When do you think we're going to be done with that whole list? Why, in other words, because I'm hearing some rumors, and I'm going to talk how this whole thing is being played out. Because they said 5 elected officials here is going to vote on it.
The list, no, the list was reviewed a couple of months ago.
Yep.
With the building committee, and I believe the school committee saw that list. We really haven't
Haven't veered off it.
not getting added.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I totally agree with that. Show me a piece of paper, what this piece of equipment looks like, what am I spending $85,000 on? That's my point. The building committee might have seen a beautiful colorized picture of an 8x10. I don't care about that. You're asking the 5 of us, well, it already supported from the building committee, that have no idea, there's no paperwork, warranty on it, there's nothing. And then after when I meet with these guys next week, you'll know exactly where I'm going with all of this. I have a lot of issues on what this is all being done. We're just approving everything that comes from that building. We're approving everything that comes in front of us, and we have issues out there. Once again, if I don't have a hard copy on it, I can't support $85,570. Might have been from the wishes, but the question I have is, when are we gonna be done with that? What do they just decide to send $1,000 item to, and we gotta approve? When does anybody
The
know?
list has been put forward. We haven't added to the list. You had the list a couple of months ago of all of the requests coming from the high school staff and,
Well aware of that.
no, but but we're in the process of going out for RFPs for the things that were on the list that you've seen.
So
That's what
in
you're
our,
asking.
in our
There's
pack,
nothing new is being added to the list. We've already
What I'm
seen.
saying is I'm agreeing with all of this. What I'm saying is, hurry up and get it off the table. I know you gotta remember, but let me finish where I get frustrated. Remember, 10 months ago, we heard and said that within the next, by the end of November, we would know an amount what Gilbane was gonna close it out at. Remember, does everybody remember that? And I'll say, we're in executive session, find me. And then we did not have that amount December, January, February, March. April, we got hit with, oh, by the way, we have $7.4 million, and oh, by the way, the building committee came up with a wish list with 17 items on it, and they're gonna spend $3,200,000 of money. Does anybody find it odd that the school committee members knew nothing about this for 6 months? And then when we did get told, we was told 7.4, but somebody already spent $3.2 million of it, so we got $3.2 million. What are we doing with it? There's $7 million sitting out there, and like we're looking at cutting pennies, and I understand it. I understand it's grant money for this school, but you know, enough is enough with this high school. I think we just paid somebody, Paragon or something, to do something with this high school again. Every single meeting, we're paying people discuss problems at this building and stuff. Put it away and let's move on. That's all I'm saying. Get all of their information. I don't know how long it takes to spend $3.2 million. I can spend it because I'll talk to, I don't want to say it, I'm going to say it private. I'm going to say it publicly. I'm hearing rumors, and I don't know if it's on the wish list, that somebody doesn't think a whole set of bleachers is necessary in that beautiful, beautiful gym. They want them removed, put lockers in there, but when that takes place, there's all fire expression behind the bleachers, so we gotta go in, but no, but what I'm saying, these.
Those are rumors, like,
Okay,
this is
but-
the first I'm hearing of
Okay.
anything that has to do with removing a set of bleachers. That
But
has
they're saying because.
never
they-
come up
but
at
they're
a
s-
meeting.
But I'm saying, there is talk that there's plenty of money to get that done. That's what I'm afraid, if we take the money off the plate, Sandy, and just because you don't hear about it, Sandy, I agree with you and I respect you for it. But at the end of the day, let's just see if it's gonna play out. And then if it does, I wanna see it come in front of this school committee to say we start, because like I said, there's a lot of things happening in this building that at least 2 of us don't, I'd say maybe all of us don't know. Just because you don't know, does not mean that it's not happening. You know, in fairness.
I will say, just to clarify.
In fairness,
though,
just
for-
like I said with the bathroom doors, how are we making out with the bathroom doors?
It's against fire code. We can't move forward.
So I just want to clarify, though, for that list that we're working on, especially the list that was put together after consulting, everybody almost in the building. That's stuff that has already been informed to us, and obviously the superintendent, and if there's any progress made on that, she is informed. They have, what is it, bi-weekly meetings still?
Every week.
Yeah, every week. So that's in addition to our monthly meeting. So it's,
Yeah, and
So she has to be informed when it comes to that
Nothing's
wish
been
list.
added. That's
Yeah,
the thing,
with-
like, you've seen the list, we haven't, we're
There.
trying to order everything on the list.
totally. Yeah, and,
That's
and
what we're doing right now.
with like respect to like really honoring, with respect though, Tony, to honoring like making folks feel comfortable asking a question. I just asked a question because I just was uncertain about this because I didn't see it in my inbox and I overlooked it, and there's nothing in front of us and it's the first time we're seeing this tonight. So, questions are encouraged. So I was just asking a question, not necessarily just that's all it was. So I recall the list of these items, and just being on it. However, I just feel when there are 5 applicants on an RFP and one is selected, that's great, but there's zero reasoning behind it was selected. Maybe like if, there's a scoring rubric on that sheet, however, there's, it doesn't compare the other 4 applicants. A little more detail would just be able to support the decision. That's really what it is. Fairness.
Absolutely.
Problem?
No, with,
The same way that we packets before, I think potentially there was maybe a separate packet for today, so.
Totally. For other RFPs I recall, in recent, there's it listed all of the folks that applied for it, the scoring rubric used, the scores of all the other folks, and then it had more of a reasoning as to this is what supported the determination of why we chose this person. So that was that was just my reasons for questioning. And
The RFP itself comes before the committee also for vote before we go out to RFP.
this is the awarding of it.
Right.
correct? Yes.
Fine, so you saw the RFP, that
The
came
RFP,
out.
this is
Now you
who's
just want
being
more
awarded.
information when
Yeah.
we award
So,
the RFP.
If you don't mind, it
Cover
said,
letter, you know what I'm saying? I know what you're
You
talking.
have to vote to approve the RFP, so the RFP came out, I don't know,
so the July 15th minutes state that an RFP is on the market for the multifunctional piece of material handling equipment. Those were the July 15th minutes. So that would have meant that the RFP was out prior. That was, and then these minutes were approved at the July 30th meeting. And this also has a list of all the project updates as well, listed for the minutes of the July 15th meeting.
on the awarding of the RFP when it comes here.
Those same minutes were just voted on.
No, these minutes were voted on July 30th.
Okay. Any other additional comments or questions regarding the awarding the material handling equipment RFP? If not, I'll entertain a motion from the committee.
I'll make a motion.
No, I would like to see just the information requested before moving forward on this, so that's where I stand on that.
Craig will
Yeah,
send it out.
easy. Yep. Make a motion to table.
Is there a second to table this?
I'll make a motion to table.
Aye? Aye. For our next, Next item, we have a consider and vote to approve the updated building committee membership. I know we did discuss it briefly, but if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Right, so again, just want to clarify, if any folks, including any individual members on the school committee, do want to join the building committee, either high school or middle school Waddington projects, they would just fill out a form on the RIDE website and send that with a resume to the superintendent for potential placement on the committee. Is that correct? I'll make a motion.
Clarify also, I haven't received any requests on my end. Part to be added on to this building committee for either or. Is there a second?
Yes.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Is there are there any nays? Next item, we have consider and vote to approve the proposed Cardin settlement. I'll entertain a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Let's say aye. Aye. Is announcements. All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?